So I'm about to conduct my first interview. Wish me luck.
My name is Beth Brunk-Chavez.
I'm Mimi Gladstein.
My name is Dr. Kristin Gosselink.
My name is Jennifer Hahn. I'm the Chief Instructor at Han's Intermartial Arts.
I am the Dean of Extended University at UTEP.
And I am a professor of English and a professor of theater arts.
I am an Associate Professor of Biological Sciences here at UTEP.
I graduated from UTEP in 2007 with a degree in kinesiology and a minor in business.
And at this current time, I am the interim chair of the Department of Theater and Dance.
I do neuroscience research.
I'm a professional kickboxer and boxer. I'm the IBF World Champion, the only one in El Paso to ever win a legitimate world championship.
I was the first director of the Women's Studies program.
I'm also an Associate Dean in the College of Science, and my role there is faculty mentoring and development. And then my third role is as a program director for an accelerated pre-med program called A Prime Time.
Well, first of all, the challenges we had to overcome was the inherent sexism in the university system. The university, when they hired me, they were paying me much less than they were paying the males that they hired that didn't even have as good qualifications as I had. And so in the period of time there, we sued the university 3 times, I believe, before they finally created some kind of equity in what we call gender-related discrimination.
There probably are a lot of challenges, but I just see them as opportunities to overcome them, to improve the situation that I'm coming into, right? So I'm lucky that I started in a discipline where there are a lot of women leaders in that field, rhetoric and writing studies. So many of my mentors were women. Many of the people who I teach with in the program are women. We're a very female kind of dominated department already. And so I feel like in many ways I didn't have some of the challenges that women in other disciplines might have, like women in science or women in engineering who are coming into a field that's very male dominated. Or sometimes I feel like the perception of some men might have can be difficult. And some women too, right? They might also expect you to be the nice one who just, okay, you can have this money, or you can teach whenever you want, or you can do these things. But sometimes I think it's a little bit more difficult to provide boundaries. And I'm more conscious of doing that as both a faculty and as a leader.
So not very many recently. It happened much earlier in my career. So I think there was a social or societal perspective when I was an undergraduate, and I would tell people, strangers mostly, oh, so you're in college, what are you majoring in? And I would say biology, and I would say I was pre-med, which I was at the time. They'd say, oh, are you going to be a nurse? Like there was no, like the absolute expectation was if you were a woman going for pre-health, it was going to be nursing. There was no doctor. I had one person say to me at one time, you're so lucky you're a woman because graduate school will be easy for you. And I said, why do you say that? And they said, well, you'll just have to cry and you'll get your way. So I've had a couple of moments, right? But I've also, on the positive side of that, every one of my very significant mentors so far has been a man, and they've been really supportive and helpful.
Most people's stereotypes of boxers are not seeing a female box. I had a great coach, Mr. Jerry Wright, and he was awesome. And then he passed away, he died of cancer. And then I was stuck because I had turned professional and I didn't have a boxing coach. So AB was actually working with Louis Burke, who's from Cruces, and Louis Burke is hands down a world-class coach, and he's the best coach ever. But he was very, very hesitant to work with me because I was a female. Just because I was a female. He didn't feel comfortable. I guess he thought it would be different to work with a female, but my manager talked to him and he decided, okay, let's try it, right? And I think now, if Louis was here doing this interview with you, I think he would say that I work probably harder than the guys.
Well, if you had told me back in graduate school or even in undergrad like you are that I would be in this position today, I would never have believed that. I didn't really see, I saw that I wanted to pursue a path or to have a career, but I didn't see me necessarily becoming a leader over time. But then in retrospect, I think there are many little opportunities that I just continued to build on. So as a graduate student, maybe I was a co-president of a student organization. And maybe that might not seem like a huge moment, but that was an attempt to, I guess, be a leader to my peers, to organize something, to pull the group together, and to provide some direction. And then as I started as a faculty, just over time I found opportunities to work on projects that eventually grew into leadership positions. And so it just became this continuous progress or process of finding work that's exciting and finding work that's meaningful and finding work that ultimately helps the university and the students, and then building on that. And so like I said, if you told me 20 years ago that I would eventually be a dean of a college like Extended University, I would have never believed it. But now looking back, I can see how maybe everything I did just sort of built step by step to getting here.
Number one, very blessed in where I work. I love UTEP. It's a wonderful place. And it's a place I often tell people when we're trying to hire someone, I say, this is La Frontera, the frontier. And one of the wonderful things about the frontier is that you could make of yourself what you wanted, and that's wonderful things about UTEP. Basically, if you think of something and you can do it well, you can do it. Very few people stop you if you have really great ideas. I was the only female chair of the English department in the 20th century. Now we have, Maggie Smith is chair of the department now. But in the 20th century, I was the only one.
So successes, I think, really kind of boiled down to paying attention and communicating well. So for example, the associate dean position I was offered and I took because I had been through tenure recently myself, and it was kind of an uncertain time of everyone's life, and there wasn't a lot of communication when I went through the process, and I thought, well, I can help do this better. And so it was really important to me for young faculty to feel like they had a voice or an ear, depending on which they needed, when they were going through this process that's pretty taxing. So I think really realizing where the gaps were and where I thought I could help. So that led to that. For all the academic stuff is really just because I love teaching and I love the students, and any chance I have to interact with them for their professional development. So opportunities arose, but I was already established as somebody who would kind of go the extra mile because it's what I love to do.
So obviously my boxing championships, I was a 6-time national boxing champion as an amateur. I got to compete all over the world, which helped me meet new people, experience new cultures. I got a lot of international experience fighting, which was great. As a martial artist, I'm a 5th degree black belt, and I think all my fighting experience has helped me become a great teacher because I have a lot of experience, and I hope to continue to influence not just the children, but all of El Paso.
My parents were always expecting my best, and they weren't necessarily forceful or too demanding if I didn't always get the highest grade or succeed to the highest level. But I think being in an environment that was encouraging and didn't sort of set boundaries on what you could do as a woman or as a girl was probably hugely significant. And I just, from an early age, I think I had the mindset that I could do pretty much whatever I wanted to do.
I don't know that anything drove me. I think I was just fortunate, and things would happen and I would follow my desire, or something looked interesting to me, I'd follow my interest and never know where it leads.
So it's all been based in science. I, from a very early age, have been a science and math geek. I really have always loved this field, and it kind of grew. So I expressed an interest in the field, and then I kind of formalized that from biology, which is pretty big, to physiology and neuroscience, which are the two main areas that I focus on. And I had some really excellent teachers along the way that helped me find that. And then I figured out that I wanted to teach, and then I had the opportunity to teach, right? So it sounds like I planned it. I didn't. I kind of happened into opportunities, but everything kind of built on what came before. So.
My dad, Master Han. My family is definitely a huge part of my life. We all grew up training in martial arts together, and my dad has been my biggest supporter, my biggest influence in my life. He's always pushed us to be the best we can. Never ever give up. No pain, no gain. And because of his strength and belief in me, that's why I'm so successful.
Volunteering to participate maybe on committees that you haven't been asked to, but you know that it's an important project, or you know you can contribute to it, so being available.
If something comes up that I'm interested in, then I follow through. And so, and my interests are varied. Because like right now, I'm working on a book.
What are some ways that you take initiative?
Gosh, every way. I sit in meetings and I hear about things that are needed or things that are not working how people would like them to be, or I have friends who call me up and say, hey, we'd like to try this, will you be willing to pilot something in your classroom or something? And I have a real no saying problem. I can't say no to anybody, so that's now on film. But I take initiative with academic programs, with changing communication strategies, with documenting things in the dean's office that have always been understood but never really been formalized. So a couple of different areas, I would say.
So I guess initiative in boxing, not just as an athlete. I'm the first one in training. I'm the last one to leave training. As a boxing coach, I've helped coach all my brothers and sisters who are also very successful champions. I've gotten to work with the USA boxers who've been on the international team. I went to Russia in 2012. I was one of the first females to work a junior Olympic men's team, which is pretty unique. I enjoy being part of the community. I was the junior Olympic chair for USA Boxing Board Association. I was the vice president. I am the one that certifies all the coaches who want to work in USA Boxing. So that's a huge accomplishment, especially for someone my age, because usually the coaches are 2 or 3 times older than me. So it's interesting, but I have a lot of education, so I do the studying and I can submit the test, and I feel like I'm a good teacher because nobody's failed any of my tests yet. So that's what I feel I've contributed in the boxing community. Whenever schools or people need me to come in as a motivational speaker, I prepare my speeches. I try to take all my experiences and put them into my stories so that the kids can relate to someone being from El Paso, opening doors for them and realizing that I'm just like they are.
That's a really interesting question that I've actually thought about a little bit over the last few months, because I have 2 kids and they're both boys. But I think about you know, the girls their age who they go to school with, and like what sort of messages are they receiving and who's motivating them, and do they really think that they can do anything, or are they feeling like maybe not everything is a true opportunity for them. So I think if I could flip your question around a little bit, for me it's encouraging my boys to not think of girls as like different for them or less than, and I don't think they do. But to be careful about the kind of language that they use, or the ways that, you know, like they cannot say you throw like a girl, or they cannot say, are you gonna cry about it like a little girl? Like those kinds of things are completely off limits in our house, because it just encourages a kind of a mindset that it's not appropriate, it's not right. And so I think they understand how hard that I work to have gotten where I am, and that they need to see everybody, no matter what color, what gender, what nationality, whatever, as fully capable as they are, that they shouldn't consider themselves to be any different or better just because they're boys.
Well, you know, the thing is you have to follow your star. You know, and if you have a vision, if you have ability, then, you know, go for it. But not everyone is a leader. And the other thing we have to have is we have to have good followers.
How do you encourage young women to take initiative and become leaders?
By example, I think is probably the easiest way to say that. I mean, I providing opportunities when I see something come along where, oh, we have a speaker who is in a field that you might be interested in. I try to connect students in general, not just women, but we have a lot of women in science, and if we have women leaders, I try to make sure that women see the women in those roles. Something I do specifically when I teach my classes is on the first couple of days I have them fill out an index card that tells me their name, their major, their career plans, whatever. And then I ask them to tell me something interesting about themselves. And so it helps me remember the students' names in my classes and what their areas are, especially in a big class. But then if somebody comes in who's a speaker about a certain topic, I can flip through those cards and say, oh, these are the 5 students who are interested in veterinary school or interested in cancer research or something. And I can target them quickly and easily and say, hey, there's a seminar coming up, you might want to go attend this.
I think especially in martial arts, we get a lot of young people coming into our school, and I've noticed that in the beginning, when I do the trial lessons, when I start everybody off, the boys are usually very excited. Well, some of them are timid and shy, whatever. But sometimes the girls are the ones who are not sure of themselves, and the ones that are, you have to kind of help open them up and show them that they can do it just like their brothers or just like their uncles or any of the male members in their family that are pushing them to do it.